Hello, on today's episode of Young Dr. Evil Plays Sloppy Riffs, I take a look at the Fane Acoustics F70 guitar speaker. So a bunch of you guys seem to be die-hard Fane fans, Fanes, sorry, and have been asking me about the Fane F70 for a while now, and today's the day I finally check it out. I'm going to put it in my Marshall 1960 AV cab behind me here, like with every other speaker I've tested so far, apart from the Mamzer 30, and shoot it out against the Celestion Vintage 30 from the year 2000 on this side. Both speakers will be mic'd up with modern Shure SM57s. The Vintage 30 will be mic'd up in a sweet spot where the dust cap meets the cone, which is about here. And the Fane F70 will be mic'd up in two spots, because to my ears the sweet spot is not in the same relative position as it is for this Vintage 30. To me it's slightly further outside, maybe 7-8 millimeters further out from the center. So for the first part of the video I'll be micing up the Fane F70 in its sweet spot here, and later I'll be moving the mic into the same relative position as it is in for the Vintage 30. That way I hope to show you the Fane F70 from its best side, at least according to my absolutely impeccable taste, and provide you with an apples to apples comparison. To do that, I'll be playing some riffs through my EVH5150 50 watt behind me here, and I'll be switching back and forth between the mics in rapid succession so you can really hear the relative differences. As always, I'll be providing you with some free IRs to download down in the description, one for the Vintage 30 and two for the Fane F70 in this case. And if you like those free IRs and would like more IRs, maybe with more positions and more microphones, consider joining my Patreon, also linked down below. I make small IR packs for the speakers I demo there now with various different mics in different positions. And to those awesome people who've already joined my Patreon from last video, thank you very much, you guys are the best. As an added bonus, I'm not only going to shoot out the Fane F70 against the Celestion Vintage 30, I'm going to shoot it out against the other Fane speakers I have right here, which coincidentally are both OEM speakers. The first one is the David Laborga Mamzer 30, which was the first speaker I demoed on this channel after I did some Vintage 30 videos. And I've been dying to give this another spin because I haven't played this or demoed this yet in what has become my reference cab for speaker videos, which is this Marshall 1960 AV here. Instead, I demoed this 8 ohm speaker in this Engel 412 behind me. And back then I also didn't take the time to find the sweet spots for the individual speakers I was testing. So yes, I feel like this speaker deserves a bit of redemption. And the other Fane OEM speaker I have is the Lichtlaerm Audio LCR 150, which has become my new favorite speaker, I think. I'll only be miking these up in their sweet spots. I'm not going to go with reference spots there. Yeah, let's find out if the Fane F70 is worth $1 million. Let's go. Right, it's time for my favorite segment, which is called Speculating on the Internet. I've got the Mamzer 30 in place of the Vintage 30 here right now. The Fane F70 is still in there, and they're both mic'd up in their respective sweet spots, which is a bit further outside than it was for the Vintage 30, about 7-8 millimeters. And generally, I find that these two speakers, the Fane David Laboga Mamzer 30 and the Fane F70, they behave very similarly. I mean, the way they react to mic placement is quite similar, and I'd like to speculate that they're probably closely related. I'd say the Mamzer 30 is probably somewhat based on the F70. Yeah, anyway, same setup as before. Let's listen to some riffs. Alright, I've got the Lichtlaerm Audio LCFR 150 in this place now where the Vintage 30 usually is. That sweet spot is pretty close to the center of the cone, so I've moved the mic in a bit. The Fane F70 is still mic'd up roughly the same as it was before, so yeah, let's get into it. Well, I'm kind of regretting that sloppy riffs bit from the intro because that turned out to be a self-fulfilling prophecy, didn't it? But who cares, because I had a lot of fun with this setup. I was really enjoying myself. I think the Fane F70 sounds really good in the room. Under the mic, I like it, but I'm between two minds. Compared to the Vintage 30, for example, I do find it kind of similar. They do have the same target demographic, I feel, but it feels a little further removed than the Vintage 30 copies that I've tested, or the clones like the Veteran 30, for example. It's more like a cousin. It feels like, to me, it doesn't feel like it's a copy. It feels like two separate design engineers were giving the same spec, and one guy came up with the Vintage 30 and the other came up with the Fane F70. It's a very cool sounding speaker, and I do think it sounds great. At the same time, compared to the Vintage 30, it has a lot of that 5 to 6 kilohertz content that I've been going on and on about for several videos now. I should rename my channel to 5 to 6 kilohertz, and that can probably get a bit ear fatiguing after a while. So given the choice between the two, I'd probably pick my Celestion Vintage 30 here, the one from the year 2000, but that's one of the best. But compared to a contemporary Vintage 30, I'd probably pick the F70 if I'm honest. Moving on to the comparison with the Mamzer 30, I think the Fane F70 and the Mamzer 30 sound very, very similar. And in fact, the main differences seem to be in the high end, mainly above 5 kilohertz. And as once again we've heard and seen in some prior videos, that area tends to be the wild wild west. Things go every which there. The tolerances are pretty high, so the differences between the Mamzer 30 and the Fane F70 kind of sound of the same order of magnitude as the differences between two Celestion Vintage 30s from different years would be. So I dare to speculate that the Mamzer 30 is probably very closely based off the Fane F70. In fact, I did a test with some IRs that I made that you will be able to download on Patreon sometime soon, another shameless plug for myself. And I low passed them and switched back and forth, and they sounded almost identical. Also, when going into the stereo parts of the video there, that was the speaker where there was the least perceivable change for me. And the speaker that blended very well with the Fane F70 was the LCFR 150. And if I'm being honest, I probably didn't do the best job of miking that speaker this time, but you've heard it in several other videos by now because it has become my favorite. And I will be putting two of those in my Marshall 1960 TV cab once the LCFR 150 becomes available. And I've been going back and forth with myself what speakers to blend the LCFR 150s with. Do I go with the classic Celestion Vintage 30, or do I use two DV77s, the speaker that I tested in my last video? I really liked that, and I thought it blended well with the LCFR 150. But so does the Fane F70, but in a completely different way. So now I'm wondering what to do. Do I put F70s in the cab with the LCFR 150? Even if it's not my favorite speaker by itself, I think it blends very well with other speakers. So in conclusion, the Fane F70 is a great speaker in my opinion. It's probably not my favorite by itself, but it's one of my favorite speakers to blend so far anyway. And next up, I'm looking at probably the Celestion Redback. I had you guys vote. And for the longest time, the Jensen Nighthawk and the Celestion Redback were pretty much neck and neck. I wouldn't mind testing either because the Jensen has been in a box here for about 6 months, and I haven't tested a Jensen at all yet, and I haven't tested any other Celestion speaker on this channel other than the Vintage 30, so I'm excited to do that comparison next. Celestion UK, I know you're watching, you're a public subscriber to this channel, and why aren't you calling me? Let's work something out. I want to test your speakers, all of them. I can't afford to buy more. So anyway, I'm looking forward to that, and I'm looking forward to do some more test videos this summer too. I've got a few things in mind. What did you think of the Fane F70? Check out the free IRs in the description below. Tell me what you think in the comments. I'll meet you down there. I always love nerding out with you guys. And I think that's all I've got for now. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!